Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. I know that everyone is logging in from many different places throughout Africa, the UK, and the US, if you're able to get up very early. But just a massive welcome and a thank you to everyone who has taken time out of your days to join us here today. For those of you who I have not met yet, or haven't met Tony, Jordan either, my name is Jarryd Jacklin. I head up the team here for Carrick in Mauritius, where we are a private wealth management company. We help our clients throughout Africa and many jurisdictions throughout the world, UK and USA included as well. We work with a multitude of asset classes. We help all of our clients on their private wealth management journeys, ultimately to achieve financial freedom, which is what we all strive to get to someday. I define that as working because you want to, not because you have to. Okay, and part of that journey, and what often forms part of the core part of that, is investment through property. I believe everyone should have an element of investment property within their portfolio, and you'll see today why we have focused on a very niche market of that, and with regards to the UK property market and certain areas with only certain developers and partners internationally as well, to provide the best value for our clients. So I'm joined today with Tony Jordan. Tony, thank you very much for taking time as well.
Good afternoon, Jarryd, and thank you everybody who's joined the call today. I'm really pleased to be here.
You're sat in Dubai at the moment, Tony, and I'm sat in Mauritius while we're under a cyclone warning. So not too great here today.
No, I'm sat in Dubai, but the bags are packed and it's moving to Africa next week. So very excited.
Exciting stuff, exciting. But thank you again for joining. For everyone who is on, Tony and API have worked very closely with Carrick for a number of years as one of our preferred providers and partners when it comes to the UK property market. I'm sure we'll all see why very shortly. So I'm going to hand over to you shortly, Tony. Just for everyone to know, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. We'll pick them up as the presentation goes. And we'll also have some time at the end to go through as many questions as we can, time dependent. So just a reminder to put as many questions there as you would like. And Tony, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jarryd. Yeah, once again, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. I'm delighted to be here. We've worked with Carrick for many years now at API Global. I'm the Regional Director for Africa. As I mentioned just before when we were doing the intro, I've been based in Dubai for 20 years. I've sold international property, mainly the UK, for the last 17, and I'm from the UK and understand the UK market, especially for African investors. As I said, I run Africa for API Global. We'll go through a few slides in a minute and tell you the locations and what we do as a business, the developers we work with, our unique end-to-end service that's very important from an investor's point of view, that everything is under one umbrella between Carrick and API Global and the developers that we work with in the UK. We will then go on to have a look at a few of the developments towards the end of the presentation. And as Jarryd says, we will then field any questions, reference it be the mortgage solutions, the property management, our end-to-end service, anything about the developers that we work with, or any particular projects and locations within the UK that we offer. So this is our end-to-end service. It's made up of 10 components, starting with the market research and the way we source projects. As our main partner in Africa, Carrick Wealth, it's very important that the due diligence is done from our perspective on the particular locations and the developer, planning permission in place, Section 106s. The market research is done on transport links, regeneration, student retention, more importantly, the biggest driver of investment property, which is supply and demand imbalance, and equally the strength of the rental market, which at the moment in our core markets, which is predominantly Manchester and Birmingham at the moment, we've seen significant growth. over the last few years, and the next 5 to 10 years projections are pretty much the same as we've had over the last 5 years. The investment advice comes from myself and Jarryd and the team at Carrick. With the African investor, we will talk through what we offer as a business, our experience in different markets, because of Africa and certainly Mauritius, there's different jurisdictions, which means there's different mortgage rates, there's different laws within remitting money out of certain countries. So as well as being in an investment company, working alongside Carrick, we become a solutions provider as well, whether that be transferring money outside into the UK, opening UK bank accounts, the legal support that we have from our solicitors based in the UK. We offer many solutions to different types of investors, equally with company setups, as well as finding personal names. So the investment advice is tailored to every single client that we speak to. Everybody's different, whether that's from a budget perspective, a location, or the end goal of why they're investing into the UK market. And I think with working certainly with Jarryd and the team in Mauritius and the other offices around Africa, coming at it from a wealth management perspective of looking at the client and with the end goal of making money, but equally diversifying their portfolio and mitigating as much risk as we can do. One of the biggest areas of the business that we've invested into, certainly over the last 3 or 4 years, is what we call our sales progression team. These are the guys who work from reservation of a property through to exchange, and then from exchange to completion. We have 19 different projects live at the moment, everywhere from an entry level point of 145,000 up to 2.5 million. So these guys will hold the hand of the client, work with the legal teams in the UK to do the conveyancing, and send regular construction updates out to the client through the build period. The mortgage support, as in the headline, mortgage finance is very important. We contact the client 6 months before completion, and we give options to the client, again, depending on the jurisdiction, whether that's the loan to value that we can achieve, and that's anywhere between 55% and 70% at the moment. And equally, we have different interest rates from different lenders, whether it be fixed or sort of variable rates, anywhere between the best rates we get in at the moment at sub 6, but again, we can edge up towards 8 or 9% depending on the jurisdiction where the client sits. On completion phase, the lettings and management and the sales progression team kick in. We will contact you before completion. Redstone's letting and management is in-house with API Global, and we currently have just shy of 700 properties under management with 0 vacancies, and that's testament to the strength of the UK market at the moment. They do everything from finding the tenant for you, doing the snagging with the developer, putting the furniture in if you need it furnished, and then putting the tenant in, collecting the rent on a monthly basis, paying the bills, and sending the return to the nominated bank. And at the end, we have a portfolio optimization team that's integrated with our new portal that you'll see on a slide later in the presentation, where we advise clients through the investment cycle of whether it's the right time to release some equity, maybe the right time to sell, realize the gain, or to just generally hold. So moving on, if I can get the slide to move. So where are we based as a business? As I say, we are business to business. It's very important that we have boots on the ground to support our partners like Carrick Wealth. We have 2 offices in South America, head offices in London. We have an office in Manchester where Redstone are based, and a sales team to support our UK agents in the north of England, as opposed to just being down south in London. Cape Town, Johannesburg, Nairobi, my offices in sort of Africa, soon to be in Harare. As I mentioned, I am relocating next week to support the guys in Zimbabwe. Riyadh in Saudi, Dubai, obviously where I'm sitting at the moment, which is the main hub for the Middle East, and then Singapore and Hong Kong to service North and Southeast Asia. Our core markets, as I've touched on, are Birmingham, Manchester and London. We've got other investment locations in Nottingham, Derby, Liverpool, Solihull, Cambridge and Watford. and a few new markets that will be locations that will be entering this year are Leeds, Altrincham, Sheffield, Edinburgh, Coventry and Brighton. So as you can see, there's plenty of diverse locations and different price points for any type of investor to get in. As I've already touched on, there are entry-level products with really what we class as tier one developers, right down to the centrally located London stock with Galliard Homes that we have that can, as with any zone one property, reach into the millions of pounds. But our core markets are Birmingham and Manchester, because you don't have the barrier to entry with funds. It's a lot more affordable. You've got stronger yields that cover your mortgage payments, service charge and your management fee. So the majority of our business currently over the last 3 to 5 years, and certainly moving forward, are in Birmingham and Manchester, really in Nottingham, Derby locations. So just moving on to, I'm quite proud actually to sit here, and when I talk with the investors from Carrick, is to talk about our partners who we deal with from a development point of view. You see there's 3 projects there. We've sold Blackfriars, Viaducts are sold out. You can actually see W Residences behind me, which is our flagship project by Salboy and Relentless Group. We launched this in November in Dubai, actually, with Salboy and Relentless Group, is actually owned by Gary Neville, the ex-Manchester United footballer. And we had one of our record months where we sold just under £50 million worth of property that month. So that's been a real success at the end of 2023. But Salboy really are our premier developer in the Northwest. They offer 100% deposit protection, which is really key when I'm talking to African investors, and deliver fantastic product in superb locations with the right amenities that sort of complement these city centre locations. So Salboy really, if any questions regarding Manchester moving forward, they are our #1 developer alongside Forshaw, which we have just handing over now on Pavilion Wharf. We launched that 2 years ago, 180 units. That is coming to completion now. The Waterhouse and Victoria House have all been completed, tenanted, and income generating for the investors across all the global offices, really. So again, there are 2 main developers in the Northwest. Elevate Property Group, we've had a fantastic relationship. I think we're on our 11th project now. And again, Silk Yard in Derby is entry level, and Gunsmith House, as you see there, we're just coming up to a completion in sort of Q2, really. Trembridge Quays is complete. So again, one of the premier developers in the Midlands, with a long-standing track record with ourselves of buying land, building it, us selling it, and then tenanting it, really. So Wavensmere, pretty new developer. We've done 5 projects with these. We've got Belgrave Village at the moment, which is a year away, Dalton House and MacArthur House. But Belgrave Village, as Jarryd knows on the call, is very popular with investors now in South Birmingham. It offers entry level really for Birmingham of roughly about 208,000 for a 1-bed and circa 300,000 pound for a 2-bed with loads of amenities. And it's a joint venture with Galliard Homes as well. So this, alongside Waterhouse Gardens in Manchester, are our main 2 real good sellers at the moment for the African market. Just waiting for the slide. Investing, another major partner of ours. We just again completing on Heathside in London. Boulevard is active in Birmingham, and Broadoaks was actually in Solihull. We completed on that over a year ago, and that was sold out instantly and fully tenanted as well. So as you can see, when I go through the list of developers from Salboy, Elevate, Investing, we're working with the best developers in the UK. So it's from a client point of view, when we present the investment case for Birmingham or Manchester or any location, and then to actually look behind who's actually building it, the quality and the location and the track record we have with them, it certainly makes my job and Jarryd's job a lot easier when we're presenting a proven track record from really established developers. And again, the last developer I want to talk about is City House. That's actually an in-house development arm of API Global. We've delivered 3 projects. We're just coming up probably halfway through developing Phoenix House in Cambridge. But again, it's very important from a investment point of view that, again, if we come across sites that we can jump on that. And again, later in the presentation, you'll see who one of the backers of the business is, a very successful guy from the UK. So City House are actually our in-house development company. And I think I'm just going to take a bit of a break and let Jarryd say a few words before I carry on.
Thanks, Tony. I think you know, one of the questions I've been asked, particularly this year, is how do you choose which developers you work with? And you've touched on that already, but I think maybe that feeds through to the importance of the developer, the importance of their track record. So how do you come about it? Do you actively engage in projects with new developers to give them a chance, or do you know what is your due diligence process? I suppose, how long does that take before you say, right, we are putting our money where our mouth is?
Yeah, I think it's testament to the business, and which Michael's built. I've been with the business 5 years, and when you start out an investment property company, you just don't get to work with Salvo or Jarryd or Property Group. You, at the end of the day, developers are building properties to sell, and where the sales are for the developer through partnerships with yourselves. And until you've proven yourself that you have a route to market, you have that end-to-end service that we offer. We have a back office with a good sales progression team. We have good solicitors in place to do the conveyancing. And the proof is in the pudding is how many units we sell for the developers. And trust me, when you sell the amount of units we're selling at the moment globally, you get the best in class developers knocking on your door wanting to offer their projects to you. So as I say, I and the business are in a very privileged position to be able to offer the projects that we do.
So the developers, as I understand, actually come to you quite often as well. It's not you sourcing a project; they come to you and ask you for help as well.
Yeah, we get the investment team who sit in London. I think we get about 10 projects put on the desk every week, which obviously majority of them get rejected when they start going through due diligence for different reasons. But again, now over the last 2 or 3 years, when you've got a developer like Salvoy, and Elevate, and Foreshore Group, and Investing, we've got 10,000 units in the pipeline for Manchester, and we've got 10,000 units in the pipeline for Birmingham. So there's no real need to go outside of the core development group that we work with, really. And again, we have many clients, as you know, Jarryd, who buy more than one property with us, and they get certain affinity, especially with Salvoy and the main developers, that they've been through the process, they've taken handover of their property, they've seen that they're achieving the rents that we've said, it's being managed properly, and therefore they look to invest again, probably with the same developer in a slightly different location. Yeah.
Perfect, Tony. Thank you.
Okay, right. I'll carry on through the presentation. There's just a few of the other developers that you see there. London Square is in a Watford scheme, and Jarryd Homes is in main developer for London. And again, I just wanted to point out, sort of, we're not a tech company, but we're quite proud of the fact that we've just developed a new dedicated portal for our partners worldwide. There's a lot of AI technology included in this, so there's live properties, development overviews, file availability for all the wealth managers, the different offices, to have it to click of a button. There's a document library for the guys to be able to send out to the clients, hopefully, that are on the call today, and give you the most up-to-date and accurate information that we can. So this is going to be a tool moving forward that we all get to use and hopefully make our job easier, but give the investors a better access to the construction updates, market news, what's happening in the mortgage market, what's happening with the interest rates in the UK, and all stuff like that. So we're very excited about that. Just wanted to touch really on, probably going back to your question there, Jarryd, about how do we select, or more importantly, how do the developers select who they work with? And I think when you look at the sales progression there over the last 3 years, you can see the number of units we've gone from just over 400 to to just under 600, and they're actual unitized sales. They're not ones that we've done and haven't happened. They're actually sold, exchanged and completed. So 1.5 billion worth of property sales since conception. You can see now why we work with the likes of the developers that we've been talking about. So, and I think the projections for this year will be somewhere in the region of 750 to 800 units. Now, this is an interesting string to our bow that we added last year, where one of Michael, the owner of the business, one of his extended family members is a guy called Mike Platt. He actually owns Blue Crest Capital in the UK, which is one of the largest funds. And Mike has actually invested into the business. He's made available funds that we can go in and buy below market value stock. So this has given us 3 different routes to market. We've got the below market ready properties. We've got the ready properties normal from a developer, and then we've got the off-plan stuff. So again, we're trying to give the investor every opportunity to get the right investment for themselves, depending on their circumstances. So we're very proud to have Mike on board as one of the board members within API Global. And again, just sort of going to start running through a bit of product now. Hopefully, this is enough information that we've gone through. I'm going to finish off with for plenty of questions for myself and Jarryd at the end. But you can see there's an example on 1 beds, entry level in Derby from 139 through to Pavilion Wharf, W Residence, and then Cluny Mews, which is in Knightsbridge in Chelsea. It just gives you a feel on different locations and different price points, again, for you to have the choice in making your investment decisions. And equally, you can say over the last 3 years how the average sales price has increased from 170 to 254, and last year we achieved 318, I think, currently. I know we're early in the year, but I think we're up to about 340 at the moment, which means that prices are increasing as we've predicted. And equally, investor sentiment is very strong at the moment, even though we've had to deal with quite high inflation in the UK and interest rates. But the UK property market is very resilient, and equally, a lot of clients are buying into the market for the currency play as well with the pound. And again, when I talk about mitigating client risk, client funds are always held in escrow accounts. This is done so that the developers aren't using the money to build their properties. All our developers are self-funded. We have deposit protection in place with a lot of our developers, especially Salboy, the Manchester developer I talked about. They offer 100% deposit protection. So when you exchange contracts with you 25%, you get a guarantee from Fred Doan, the owner of Salboy, who actually owns Betfred in the UK, and your deposit is 100% insured for the duration of the build. And as I touched on, portfolio optimization is looking at the client's investment portfolio with the property in there and advising whether to sell, whether to refinance or just hold, depending on the market conditions. Okay, just a quick, again, I touched on this when we went through the end-to-end service, but the market research is very important. As I say, we look at population growth, industry and company migration. We had BBC move from Canary Wharf up to Birmingham. We've had the BBC move from London up to Manchester. Manchester is known as the tech real centre now. There's 85 of the 100 FTSE listed companies in Manchester, and Birmingham is more known as a financial centre. Government regeneration, investment infrastructure, HS2 is making a big impact from London up to Birmingham. Private outside investment coming in, but as I've touched on, the biggest driver in any mature property market is the supply and demand balance. And currently, the UK needs about 300,000 new properties each year to keep up with demand, but we're only probably achieving not even half of that on a yearly basis. So that's fueling the market, the buy-to-let market from overseas, which obviously we're in. We've seen a lot of investment come in from different areas. As you've seen with our global footprint, there's no real particular market that stands out as the leader within sales. It's we all cover the globe and contribute to that going into the UK. So it's very important that we do all the market research before we actually present to Carrick to go through their due diligence. And this is a 121-point checkpoint that we do on every development before we even send across to Craig and the senior management team at Carrick to get signed off, before then the wealth managers and myself start presenting to clients and going through the wealth management review of what particular project and location is going to suit that particular investor. But again, as I say, from a wealth management and an investment company point of view, it's very important that the due diligence is done correctly. So again, going back again, probably touching on what you touched on earlier, Jarryd, with the developers. There's many different deal structures that we get offered by developers. There's a master agency that you probably all new companies have to start with, where you just sell for a developer on a commission and you build your name through that. There's the underwriting model where you put a certain amount of money down on each unit. If you don't sell the units, you're left holding the baby with the deposit. Joint ventures that we do with our major developers, and then obviously with City House, we develop in the house as well. So fortunately for us, we've really gone away from the master agency, because you don't get any particular exclusivity. It's more when you start underwriting and doing the joint ventures that we have exclusive. The Salboy properties that you've seen so far, and we'll touch on a few at the end, they're exclusive to API Global Africa team. So no other distribution outlet can sell Salboy properties in Africa, which is quite a big string to our bow when I'm working with the likes of Jarryd and the guys at Carrick to be able to offer that on an exclusive basis. We are licensed in 4 jurisdictions that we need to be licensed to take referrals from wealth managers, which I think is very important from an overall business point of view. And again, when a client is looking at who we are and what we do as a business, you can see that we're a licensed business. We're looking to expand all our activities this year. At the moment, we've got API Global, who I work for. We have Redstone Property Management that I've touched on, and City House, the developers. But we'll be launching a new mortgage side of the business, and equally a new sort of funding side, probably more from the Mike Platt side, where we're going to work more with family offices, which is a thing in the Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. We get approached a lot by family offices to work with them, and that separate entity will be launched this year within the group, within the family of API residents. So I'm not going to keep anybody too much longer. Please bear with me. I'm just going to nip through a few of the projects. I'm not going to put all 19 on screen. Jarryd knows this one very well, Waterhouse Gardens by Salboy. There are 5 blocks here. Fantastic amenities, from concierges to co-working spaces, residence lounge, swimming pools, saunas, TVs, cinema rooms, and there's retail along as bars and restaurants as well. It's going to be a destination project that people go to. That's by Salboy in Manchester. We have W Residence as well, and I think there's the odd unit. This is W Residence and Victoria House, but 5 are sold out. But as I say, we have a really strong pipeline of projects coming with Salboy later in the year. We touched on this earlier on. This is going to be the flagship branded residence in central Manchester. We only have a few 2-beds left because of the strength of the sales through November and December. I've actually personally bought in this particular development myself, because I don't see anything ever being built like this again in Manchester. It's got all the 5-star amenities that you get from a hotel, but in a branded residence. The first 16 floors are hotel, so it's W Hotel, and then from 17 to 41 is the branded residence that we've sold to investors, and then they're going to put it in the pool, and we're going to rent it out for them. So a fantastic project. Again, all the information of any of the projects, Jarryd and the team and all the Carrick officers have access to any of the projects that we've got. So all the information is there for you after this webinar. Just trying to skip through the slides. Got a bit of a... Just bear with me, guys. It's just a bit of a...
There we go. We can see the next one, Tony.
Belgrave Village, yeah. So, as I said, when we were talking about the developers that are on, Belgrave Village has been very, very popular. It's in South Birmingham. Again, many amenities for the residents, a lot of green open spaces. And I think from an affordability point of view, the reason why we've sort of been after this development for a long time is that we've got 1 bedrooms starting at 208,000. Now, anybody who's looked into investing into Birmingham, a 1 bed in Birmingham is anywhere from 220 up to 250,000 pounds. So for a development in this location built by Wavensmere Home and Galliard Homes joint venture, which means the quality is there, the amenities are there, great location, but you're getting in at a very affordable price. And with the payment plan of 20% on exchange and the rest on completion, which is Block A is Q4 this year, and Block B is Q1 in 2025. What that gives an investor, it helps with the cash flow. It helps that the interest rates hopefully going to come down mid-year a little bit, so the mortgage will be a little bit more palatable on completion. But again, we're not too far away, and we always have that protection in place as well. So Belgrave Village, from an affordability point of view, quality point of view, with a good developer, have proven very, very successful this year. We have sold the majority of Block A, and now we're on to Block B. So it's one of the ones alongside we have Gunsmith House, we have Boulevard, we have a project in Solihull. So we always have 3 or 4 projects in any one location. So it's certainly one for anybody who's looking to invest into Birmingham to sort of speak to the guys and get some information sent over. See if we can get to the next one, Jarryd. I think we're nearly at the end.
I'll let you know when it comes up. There we go.
Yeah. I've not got it on my screen.
We can see Gunsmith House on the screen.
It just must be a bit of a delay between Mauritius, Africa, and whatever. So apologies everybody on the call, but we're doing our best. And then Gunsmith House by Elevate, ready more or less as we speak. You can see on the right hand side we kept the old Gunsmith House itself. This is in the Gun Quarter in Birmingham, and then with Elevate Property Group put the new apartments to the left. You can see the statue on the roof. Elevate are quite edgy with their developments, but fantastic specification. 1 bedroom started at about 225, and your circa again just over 300 for 2 beds. Nice size apartments in a great location, 5-minute walk to the city centre. So again, we're showcasing our superb stock in Birmingham, but also Waterhouse Gardens and W Residence in Manchester. So you can see on the few slides that I've actually put up is the fact that when you sit down and have a consultation with your wealth manager through Carrick, and I get brought into the conversation, you've got plenty of scope, and you'll be given the right advice depending on the affordability and your investment criteria that you're looking at to sort of move forward and make an informed decision. Any look, Jarryd?
We can see the next one, Park Avenue Place.
Right, I think we're nearly there. We've got the triangle afterwards and then we'll finish. So Park Place is by Galliard Homes in Deptford in London. Again, I think it's very important not to just pigeonhole certain locations, as I've talked quite heavily about Birmingham and Manchester, but again, Derby and Nottingham offer a great investment case. We've got Tobacco Warehouse in Liverpool, and there are certain jurisdictions within the world that will only buy in London. So we always have a London project or two. Park Avenue Place, as I say, we tend to stick with Galliard Homes in London, who again, you can see deliver a fantastic quality of a project, usually in fantastic locations with good accessibility in central London. But again, we always keep an eye on the affordability side. So that's very important when we're advising clients on London. The entry level is a lot higher. The yields get compressed a little bit because the prices over the years have gone quicker than the rents. But again, as I said, we always offer London to clients who only want to buy in London. when I say I only want to buy in London, that is not a bad thing. It's the fact that London over the years has stood the test of time in any COVID era, any sort of crashes in 2007 or 2008, any mature city like New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, these are the cities that bounce back first or get less affected with major events that sort of happen when they do happen in the cycle of being in a good market, strong market. And I think it's worth mentioning as well that the last 18 months to 2 years, the UK housing market's been very, very resilient against the high inflation rates in the UK. And equally, the interest rates rising to what they did. I mean, we've gone from basically just over 4.5% to over 5% interest rate. So, but the housing market, you saw from our figures, and from a sales point of view and a development point of view, has remained very, very strong. So I think that's testament to the UK housing market and rental market as well. Right, Jarryd, we'll try and get to the last slide. And then hopefully we're going to have some interesting questions.
We can see the Silk Yard, Tony.
Silk Yard, okay. Silk Yard in Derby is by Elevate Property Group again, and this is entry-level product, as we call it. Derby's got a very strong investment case, Rolls-Royce, Toyota, to name two main manufacturers that work there, employ people there. So, and Silk Yard is actually a 2-minute walk to Derby city centre. You can probably tell from my accent, I'm from that particular area. Originally grew up in Nottingham and Derbyshire, so I know the area very well. This has sold very well with African clients wanting to enter the UK buy-to-let market, which we offer. Studio started at 143, 145,000. One beds are about 189, and then your 2 beds, sort of the 250 to 270 mark. So it's affordable, great quality, and again a superior location to Derby city centre. So we've sold Block A more or less out at the moment, and we just launched Block B, which I think we've got access to about 80 units in, and then Block C will come later in the year. Right, I think we're trying to get the final slide, Jarryd, which should be the triangle. There we go. So again, when I'm talking about the South and London, again, we're always looking for those pockets of value, and we feel that Ashford in Kent offers that. You've got 1-beds studios at sub 200, 1-beds from 225, and then your 3-beds. It's just a fantastic development. Again, strong developer, and you can see the building on the left is Block D, which has fantastic views. The apartments go all the way through the building, so the ones on the front here are facing a nature reserve and a river, and the ones at the back facing to the residence courtyard. So again, a lot of my clients who have bought in Manchester or Birmingham or different locations have looked at the investment case for Ashford. You've got the high-speed train that gets you into London in less than 30 minutes, and then you've got access to Europe through the Eurostar as well. So from an investment case, you're not paying London prices, but you're 30 minutes out of the city, which obviously makes it commutable for a lot of people. So very, very popular. And again, Block D completes Q3, Q4, end of this year. That's about it from me, Jarryd. So again, from my point of view, guys, sorry it got a little bit clunky towards the end of the presentation. I hope everybody stayed on, because it's important that we get some questions and give you some of our answers, which is why you probably joined in today. But I just want to take the time before Jarryd steps in and thank everybody for coming on the call today. We do appreciate everybody giving some time up, and contact your Carrick officers, speak to your wealth managers, and I look forward to meeting some of you either in Zoom calls or when I'm on the ground next week in Africa. Over to you, Jarryd.
Tony, thank you very much. Going through those developments is always great to see the diversity of it and the diversity of the options. And A couple of questions have come through. I'm just conscious of time, so we'll get through a few of them now. We can always address them on a one-to-one basis afterwards. Just a reminder, guys, if you have any other questions that you want particular answers on, we will follow up after the webinar directly. Please type them in the chat box, and we can address them as soon as possible. But one question that's come up, Tony, is what if I do not have a UK bank account? And I'll walk through the process then. And it's a question that we had a couple of times over the last two weeks with clients. Do you want to just maybe highlight in the process, is that required at the start, or is that part of the actual mortgage?
It's a very good question, and I think the majority of people, unless they've got an offshore bank account or have relatives or property in the UK, wouldn't have a UK bank account. But again, the mortgage companies that we use, part of that process, going through the mortgage process, would be that the bank or the building society would facilitate a bank account, because obviously when your rental income comes in, the bank that's lent you the mortgage finance wants to see the rental income coming into that bank to be able to service your mortgage payments from your rental property. So yes, that can be facilitated. We also have a couple of banks online that we use as well. So they're registered in the UK. So no problem getting a bank account is the answer to the question.
All right, brilliant. And one of the questions is, how long does the process take? So I presume that the process from the decision of I would like to invest into this development, how long until I get the keys or the ownership? And I think, before we touch on that, let's talk about what we need to do before making that decision. And for everyone on the call, we're on the webinar due to a connection and invite, or already a relationship that you may have with your Carrick representative. Please feel free to reach out to your Carrick representative, myself included as well. And the best thing to do is let's set up a conversation, a consultation. For everyone who has not gone through the process yet, Tony is always very willing to jump on calls on a one-to-one basis with us at Carrick. He's an intricate part of the team at Carrick with partnership through API. So let's have that first conversation, really understand what your needs are, what your requirements are, and what your preferences are. And that is when we will help guide that decision-making process for you of what we can bring to the table and what is required by means of the service level. Is it mortgage? Is it the management of the property as well? That all forms part of the decision process. And up until that point, it's very consultative. But from decision, Tony, let's say I came to you, I want a 2-bedroom in the W residence in Manchester. I've made the decision. How long from there, or what is the process from there?
Like I say, we can use any off-plan property. We normally have with clients will be a first consultation where we understand who the client is, what they're trying to achieve, ultimately what budget they're comfortable putting in day one to completion. And I say with an off-plan property, that affords the client longer time to find the back-end payment. Let's use as illustrative that we're using a 60% mortgage, so the client would have to put 40% of the cost in over a year or 2-year period, depending on the build time. After we've had the first meeting and understand the client's requirements, I go away, do my work, and send either 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 proposals for that client, depending on the affordability of the client, the investment goals of the client, and that may be a Manchester, it may be a Birmingham. And then we set up a second meeting where we make the final decision. And then once the client makes a reservation, they send between £2,000, which Salvoy take, or £5,000, which is refundable on exchange. We need a reservation form, passport copy, and a utility bill. Sales progression team kick in, and generally, as a rule of thumb, within 30 days of a reservation, the client would exchange contracts with 20 or maybe 25%. Then this client sits back and does nothing. The 6 months before completion, the mortgage team would kick in and start looking at the best options for the client from a mortgage finance point of view. Property management team would be in touch to start looking for a tenant. And then on completion, when the mortgage is in place, the client would put, if they put 20% in, they might owe another 20% on a 60% loan to value. Once completed, the tenants are put in, and then the client, the income comes in and services the mortgage, the service charge, and the management fee. So from a timeline point of view, it depends on the construction period over that time. But generally, if it's a ready property, from reservation to completion is 3 to 4 months because of the mortgage process. And then obviously, on any off-plan property, the clients have to have in the mind the exchange contracts within 30 days of the reservation, then depending on how far away completion date is.
Okay, brilliant. And I think what we have certainly seen with your team is it can sound like a long process, but the easy thing is that, you know, we hold our clients' hands every step of the way. You know, very little work to actually do. It's all managed on a step-by-step basis. And I've got one final question here, just because I am conscious of time, and it might put you on the spot a little bit, but I think it's a great question. You know, we went through some great developments there in a number of different locations, and you highlighted at the start your primary focuses are Manchester, Birmingham, and London. That seem to be the highest demand areas right now. And the question is, Manchester or Birmingham?
Well, you've asked me that question because you know most clients ask me that question. Look, as you know, my answer to clients is that, look, we provide the information based on the client, what needs, and ultimately, if it sort of comes down to a choice that I'm asked, is we present, myself and you and the other wealth managers present all the investment drivers. We present the location, the specification of the development, the developer track record. Ultimately, it's the client's decision. But you know, I always tell them to buy Manchester because I'm a Manchester United fan. So obviously, that's a big investment driver.
And we try not to hold that against you. We try not to hold it against you. But that's that's brilliant. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. I think just from a time point of view, we can address the rest of the questions on a one-to-one basis afterwards. For everyone who has joined, we obviously have a number of attendees from many different locations across the world. Please, as I said, feel free to reach out to your relationship person at Carrick. We have a number of people to reach out to. If this is something that you really are interested in pursuing, let's have that first consultation, and you would like us to prioritize getting in touch with you sooner rather than later. As I said, there's a number of people on the call. Please just also type in yes into the chat box, okay, and we'll know sort of who to contact first by means of, I wouldn't say priority, but I'd say urgency, because we have a number of people to get through to, and of course we would like to reach out to everyone. So please just type yes if you'd like a call today or tomorrow, sooner rather than later. All right, and of course we'll reach out individually afterwards and follow up on any questions. So to everyone who's joined, thank you very much again for taking time out of your busy schedules. Tony, a massive thank you to you and your team as well for joining and running through this presentation. And I'm looking forward to having the consultations and working with clients over the coming weeks to make these a possibility for them. So thanks very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon, a great rest of the week, and let's catch up soon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Cheers.
Bye.